Do you suck at jiu-jitsu?
You probably do. You've been training for a while. You think you suck. It's probably true. But you know what? We're going to figure it out for you on this episode of Open Mat Chronicles.
All right, you guys, welcome back. Open Mat Chronicles. Coming back at you guys every Wednesday. We here for you guys. Got Schaefer in the house.
What's up, everybody? Schaefer in the house.
What's up, Schaefer?
We're chilling, man. We're having a good time. We're gonna probably hurt some people's feelings today, but it'll be good. We'll rub some salve on that shit afterwards.
Hey, man, it's not good if you don't hurt feelings, right?
Exactly. And it's not something they should really be too upset about. But people are gonna be like, are they talking about me? Yeah, we're talking about you. It's okay. So listen, you want to tell them what we're gonna do today? What are we covering?
Okay, I've been training for a year. And I still suck.
Damn.
Right, that's common though. That's common. So we're really not talking smack about anybody.
No, we're not talking smack, but it's like so many people, and myself included, you're a year into jiu-jitsu and you're like, man, why am I still sucking? Like, how come I haven't figured this whole jiu-jitsu thing out yet, right? And, it's kind of a simple answer to a lot of deep, philosophical, complicated parts. A lot of it is just because you haven't fully embraced that mindset to learn jiu-jitsu. I mean, it's hard to do. Like when you first start, you see other people. We've said this before. Jiu-jitsu looks like magic, right?
Yeah.
You're like, what the hell? How did they do that? How come they're flipping upside down and doing all this good stuff? And then they're choking people and man, he's the toughest guy I've ever met. And he's like a 3-stripe blue belt. So
Upper belt.
right? He's an upper belt, right? That's how they see him, and that's cool because from your couch to the mat, first of all, just doing that. God bless you, because that takes courage, right? But people come in and they figure out, how can I win? How can I fast track this?
You're right. They want to win. They want to find a hack. They want to win the rolls.
Yes. And we just had some new people come in. This one young lady, what I tell her, I said, look, you got to come in and get your ass kicked for a while like everybody else did.
Yeah.
And if you actually could come in off the street having no martial arts training, and within a few months even keep up with or beat people who've been training for years, well, that's a clear indicator that your martial art sucks.
See, that's the only reason why I think if you have a person that comes in like a day one person, you kind of have to beat them up a little bit. In a nice way, you got to beat them up, though. You got to show them that jiu-jitsu works. Because if you go super easy, sometimes they might leave thinking, oh, this is weak. It's not no good.
And I get that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you said that before, right?
Yeah.
And I get that.
I'm not saying you got to heel hook them.
No, you're not saying
I'm just
destroy them.
Yeah.
But I do understand what you mean when you're like, okay, look, they're here. They're like, okay, why should I train here? Why should I try this jiu-jitsu stuff? It's like, if I can come in off the street and they're wrestling, they're letting me try my day one stuff. They didn't choke me. None of them made me tap.
Exactly.
So it's like, I must be okay. Why do I need them, right? Or, God forbid, you let them like work something out and they go, oh, I actually got around this guy. Or, oh, I did this thing I saw on UFC. So now I train UFC. This is great. I got this. Yeah, I can see sometimes you gotta control them. One of the things I do like doing, and this is super uncomfortable, show them, okay, pick a position. I'm going to let you mount me, right? It's like, hold me here. I was like, I don't need you to fight me, do anything. Just hold me here for a minute. Just like hold me here for 30 seconds, 60
like
seconds.
Side control, whatever.
Right, whatever it is. And then you say, go, boom. And then you'll escape it in like 2 seconds, right?
Oh, yeah.
You'll get out, boom, you'll hit him with a UPA, you'll bump and roll his ass. And they're like, whoa, that shit was amazing.
Yeah.
You say, okay, cool, right? Just like you. 2 arms, 2 legs, you're down. It's like, so you see it was pretty easy, right? They're like, yeah, of course. Okay. Now get me off of you. And then you just ride them. You just ride them. You put pressure. You give them a little shoulder pressure in the face. You mush his head up a little bit.
Little shoulder
They're freaking
love.
out. Yeah, they're getting all claustrophobic. They're like, oh my God. They're like trying to peel their clothes off. And I'm like, hey, man, just chill. just get out. I can't get out.
That's a horrible feeling, though. when you first start, you don't know jiu-jitsu, and you get that claustrophobic.
Right.
That's horrible,
It's
man.
a scary feeling.
Oh my
man.
God, dude! You know what's funny? I remember this is when I was a wipeout.
Right.
I think I was probably 2 months in, and at the time, Susan came up to. She was watching me train. This, she used to come there and watch. And Gus saw that she was there, so he was like trying to humiliate me. He did, not trying to. He did. Bro, he put me in side control. I was so tired. I could not get out. I started getting claustrophobic. I was like, I was
like,
freaking out.
on
Freaking
Black
out.
Panther. Is this your king? It's like,
Oh, it was horrible. It was horrible, man.
Yeah, man.
That scarred me, man. Gus, you scarred me emotionally. I didn't want to get stuck in side control for like a year after that. I'm
Hey,
like, I ain't doing
that's
that.
motivation to get better, right?
Holy crap.
And
You know,
so there's that one. There's the just boom, you just control them and then you just kind of ride them for a little while. And you go, listen, it's like, what would you do if I just don't let you up?
Yeah.
You know, it's like I need you to really think about
You
this.
just
Like,
can't get up.
wrap your head around this. I could hold you here forever if I so choose. And that's freaky, right? So people who can get that and then go, holy shit, I need to know how to do that. And if they can come in and just really just be quiet and absorb things, because what happens too often, they want to kind of guide their own training, right? And that's why they suck.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
they're not
You're right.
trusting their instructor. They're not trusting the people who are saying, no, this is what you're going to do to get better. They're like, yo, I saw this shit on the YouTubes. And I'm thinking that if I do this, I can hack it. I can shortcut it.
Yeah.
I can. It's like, well, wait a minute. Why should I learn to pass the guard? I saw this cool foot lock, ankle lock thing.
Exactly.
Can I just do that? And you're like, sure, go ahead.
And sometimes it may not be their fault. Like, let's say you're showing a move. You're showing a basic, let's just say you're showing a basic side control escape or a basic mount escape, right?
Yep.
Okay, so you show that, you want them to learn that. This guy's a clean slate. He doesn't know anything.
I know.
And then he's with a upper
Yup.
belt. Upper belt shows him like 3 different ways to do it differently that he does. It may work for him. It could be legit. I'm not saying the move's
It
bad, but
probably is great.
and it's probably awesome. But the guy never learned that basic move now. So
Correct.
I think it's actually hurting him. It's doing
That
a
hurts
disservice.
him a lot. And
Because the other guy already knows it. He knows
Yes.
both, and he's had the ability to refine it and come up with a new one. But he's robbing the first guy of that knowledge, that basic
they are.
knowledge.
And it's no ill intent at all. In
Not at
fact-
all.
in
They're
fact,
trying to
they
help.
want to help. They're
Yeah.
trying their best to help. But they're actually short-circuiting my shit, right?
You're right.
I'm like, look, man, when I want them to see that shit, I'll show them that
Exactly.
shit. I'm like, let me be the instructor. You just beat him up. I don't need you to teach him shit right
Yeah.
now. You just beat him up. And then he'll come back to me and he'll go, hey, I got beat up by XYZ and he did this or she did that. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you know, that's because they know a lot more than you.
Yeah.
I don't need them to know how to counter whatever fancy shit you do. I need them to get beat by that every single time because they're not ready to counter that. They're
You're
not
not ready,
ready
yeah.
to fight that. They can't even tie their fucking belt. So I'm like, I don't need you. I don't need you to show them anything advanced. They're beginners. Let a beginner be a beginner.
That's a good point because really getting submitted is a big part of the learning process in jiu-jitsu. Like
Hell
it would
yeah.
be, I don't even know how much you'd learn if you somehow managed to avoid submissions. Let's just say you were really good at some kind of, I don't know,
Right.
basic defense, but you didn't get submitted. Like you'd be robbing yourself of a
Absolutely.
huge growth potential.
Absolutely. Like I said, you have to get your ass kicked,
Yeah.
right? And I just think so many people just don't want to get their ass kicked. And they're like, how can I avoid that?
Why do they
How
avoid
can-
it so much?
Because, man, it's ego. So, also,
Like, you're
young lady
supposed to get
came in,
submitted.
her day one shit was, I told her, I said, if you want to get good, I pointed over at the entrance and I said, you need to check your ego at the door. I was like, you come in here, just be a blank slate. Don't come in with your agenda. Or if you have an agenda, the only agenda should be, I want to learn what they're teaching me.
Yeah.
That's it. And just let your instructors instruct, right? It's hard for a lot of people to do
Yeah.
because you, like I said, you want to guide, you want to walk your own path, you want to guide your own adventure, and it's like,
You know, I think especially if you're like maybe an athletic guy, you're kind of a
man.
jock, a high school jock, you know, maybe you wrestle, maybe you lift weights, you have some type of physical advantage.
Right.
Those guys, they're going to have maybe more of that ego to try to use their physical attributes to,
hell yeah,
you know,
And they
counter
have
what you're
it.
doing. And yeah, but so that's why I think some of those, we call them the nerd assassins, the accountants.
Right.
Those guys don't have that. They're just regular dudes, right? And they
That's
just
it.
come in clean slate and they just listen to you and they just get really good at
Get
jiu-jitsu.
Really good.
Really good at
Keep
jiu-jitsu.
showing up. Like you always say that Misamuchi guy or whatever, right?
Michael Mistamichi, yeah.
Yeah, dude. Like
Oh, yeah.
they were talking about him. They were like, he does like 12 hours a day training.
crazy.
He's not magic.
Yeah.
He's
He
not
trains a
magic.
lot.
He's just it clicked for him.
Yeah.
And he sticks with it, and he actually really puts in the work. And here's the thing: maybe you'll never be that good. That's fine. But I think anybody who just sticks with it, trains, they can get good at jiu-jitsu. But don't try to
100%.
necessarily don't
100%.
shortcut it, right?
Yeah, that's why. Like, I think going back to the original point of you're training for a year and you think you suck, you probably don't suck. You're probably just average, like everybody else. You know, most people are average. That's why they call it average, right?
Exactly.
so, I don't know. I guess that if there's a guy that's significantly better than you, he's probably doing more work. He's training more. I just remember because, like, for me, a year in, bro, I sucked. I wasn't good in a year. In a year, I was not good because I started training with all those guys. The guys from all the other schools, Ian and those guys. I think Ian was one of the first guys that got his blue belt in like a year. But see, Ian was training like 7 days a week. I'm like, holy crap, why this guy's getting really good quick? But he was just putting more work in than I was,
And that's what it is, man. It's like there's not a magic freaking potion that you can take.
Yeah.
I guess you could do a bunch of steroids or some shit.
Yeah,
But even that's not a magic potion. You still have to put the work in.
You got to put the work in still.
So what you have to do is you have to keep showing up. You have to keep showing up. You have to keep working on it. You have to avoid shortcuts. And really, you're going to suck compared to people who've been doing it way longer and who are also putting in work, not finding shortcuts. They're just learning more. And that experience on the mat, it translates to them kicking your ass. So it's not that you suck. You're much better than you were when you
You're better
walked
than
through
you
the door,
thought. Yeah, you're a lot better than you think. And plus, you're going against guys that are like, could be bigger, stronger, faster. Maybe they're younger. And a lot of the younger, when I say younger, it's not necessarily that you're just young. That does help, of course. But we'll go back to the Ian thing. Well, Ian was probably like in his 20s.
Right.
He's a young man. He could train every single day.
For sure.
Like I would think that if he started right now, I don't think he'd be able to train 7 days a week. Just because he's an older guy now. He's not old. He's still young, but he's in his 30s. He's been married. He's got obligations. He's got a life now, right? When you're in your 20s, you can do whatever you want. So that's part of the cool factor with being young.
For sure. And seriously, so you show up. If you're actually just putting in the work and following instructions, you're going to notice that things come a little bit easier, right? You're going to start understanding the language of jiu-jitsu. We talked about the language of it before, right? It's like white belt, you're kind of learning your ABCs. Maybe you learn a, C-spot run type thing, right?
Yeah.
But you're not writing freaking turn papers on this shit. You're not actually, you're not doing too much when it comes to jiu-jitsu. As you progress, you start to put a fine point on these things, right? You learn how to write cursive now. Does anybody even write cursive anymore?
I don't think so. Maybe your signature. Right. That's about it.
Whatever. You learn how to text faster or something. Whatever the damn, what do they call millennials or whatever they're doing these days, or Gen X. No, we're Gen X. I don't know what the hell.
I'm not Gen X. I'm even close to Gen X.
Yeah. You're like a boomer. Yeah,
Okay,
you're not a boomer. You're not that old.
No, I am. I'm a boomer.
No.
Yes,
really?
I am.
Shit. All right.
Yeah, technically I am.
Whatever.
By like a year.
At least you ain't one of them
but like a year.
jokers that was born with a damn freaking cell phone in his hand. So anyway, you don't know how to write cursive, but whatever. You learn how to write sentences. How about that? Let's bring it all back. So you learn the language of jiu-jitsu and you get better and you can speak it and people understand it because you're like, oh shit. It's being demonstrated in how you roll. It's being demonstrated because you're not freaking out. You're not being a freaking spaz. You're actually, you're flowing, hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, that takes a while to get to that point.
Yeah, it takes a while to flow, but.
White belt's flowing. There's a few.
I guess they have their own version of a flow.
You know who did?
They're not grabbing and holding on so freaking hard that their forearms are shaking or they're not like going so fast just trying to get any move. Like you start feeding them something, they go, holy shit, gotta break it right now. Like they're not doing that. that's when they're a little safer to roll with, and I start thinking, oh, you're getting good.
Yeah.
It's like I actually feel safe.
You know who
rolling with you.
you're describing? Eric, although he's a blue belt now.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was flowing as a white belt.
Dude,
That's very unusual.
yes.
But see, Eric didn't have like any ego coming in. He just wanted to learn. He's athletic.
Absolutely.
He's got all the attributes for it. He's getting really good.
And you know what? Brian's the same way. Those two.
Oh yeah,
those
Eric.
two
Yeah,
are like
Brian. Yeah, BJ fan Brian.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
For blue belts, I'll put
You're
them
right.
with brand new white belts,
Yes.
which I usually don't like to do, right? But I don't care if you're like
Oh,
day
they're
one.
kind of my go-to two
Yeah,
guys, man.
that's what I'm
When
saying.
there's a
Like,
new
I'll put
person,
them on people,
Eric
and I'm
O'Brien.
like, hey man, work with this guy.
Yeah.
He's smooth, right?
Yeah.
But then there's some others that I'm like, oh no, just I was like, you just leave them alone. You just keep rolling with these other people.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that, but they're just in that stage where they're super duper hungry and they're just kind of getting past the overly aggressiveness.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Okay, so after a year,
After a
you don't suck, but probably you could tell your progress when a brand new person comes in. You'll maul
Hell
them.
yeah.
You'll maul a brand new person, and then you're
Hell
like,
yeah.
"Holy crap, I do know this."
yep. And the hardest part of all of this is I tell people you have to try to compare yourself to yourself from the past. And obviously, that takes some introspection and you got to be able to
Yeah.
kind of look. So, you're all philosophical and shit.
Yeah.
But I know that the me now would beat the shit out of the me in my first year. Like I'm
Oh, yeah,
100%
yeah,
sure. of
yeah,
that,
yeah.
You know, what I mean, there's no way that even after like being in the army and all that shit,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna come in and out jujitsu me now. It's like
No way.
fuck out of here. It's not possible.
way, yeah.
Right. So you need to be able to look at it and go, well, I suck, but you know what? But I can stand in base and I couldn't before.
Yeah.
Oh shit, I can break fall. Oh, I got tossed by that freaking purple belt, but I didn't land on my head. I actually, kind of judo rolled to the ground and I didn't get hurt. It's like, oh, you know what I did better today? I tapped before my arm popped.
Exactly.
It's like, holy shit, these are improvements. And yeah, you still lost, but you're supposed to lose. You're a fucking white belt.
It takes a long time. It's
Yeah.
a slow moving sport.
You're food right now.
Yeah.
It's-
Do you want to? I think what's the
It's hard to say. But
what's the
it's true.
uncomfortable truth? I would say, like, when do you think? How long does it take before everything really clicks and you start getting pretty good?
Like
to
where
you're-
I would really look at somebody and go, holy
and say,
shit.
this guy could be dangerous. Like he might.
Like 3.5, 4 years.
I was gonna say the same. Three
Yeah.
3 years minimum, 3 to 4 years, right around there.
I mean, there's some good white belts. There's some good, listen, there's outliers, right?
There's
There's
outliers.
always outliers. The exception doesn't make the rule. The rule is you're a beginner and beginners are beginners for a reason
Yeah.
because they're just beginning the journey. It's like they're not really that good. And again, if you could be that good, if you could show up and within a year or 2 years be as good as a guy who's been training for 7 years, then something's wrong with this freaking
Exactly.
martial art. Like something is wrong. It's like you're telling me in 2 years you've caught up to a guy who's like been busting his ass for almost
Yeah.
a decade.
What
That
if
would be
other
weird.
martial arts like that? Like if you did like boxing, like how would you be in boxing? If you did 3 times a week boxing in like 6 months, how would you be?
Well,
I'm not a boxer, so I don't know. Put it in the
don't
comments.
know either. Because,
Like
again, we're
there's not as
boxers.
many. There's not as many moves. There's like an infinite
Right.
number of jiu-jitsu moves, but how many punches are there? I
And there's
mean,
a bunch of different styles, right? You can fight. You can do the same move and have 10 different people do it 10 different ways because they attack it 10 different ways.
for jiu-jitsu?
For jiu-jitsu,
Yeah. Where for boxing, there's fewer moves, but it probably would takes a lot of time to build up that that muscle memory and that coordination, and so it seems like it's more of a physical component.
I was to say, I think it's also more physicality.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you take a 145-pound guy who's been training for 10 years in jiu-jitsu and you put him against a 200-pound guy who's been training a year in jiu-jitsu, 145-pound guy still rocks him.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know. Is it the
Yeah, I don't
same
know.
if you got a guy who's been boxing 145 pounds for 10 years? Let's do the same thing.
Okay.
And you got a guy who's been boxing for a year now
What is
at
that,
200 pounds. How would they do it?
I don't
against
know.
each
That's
other?
interesting. I don't know, man. It's a good.
If you
Put
box
that in the
a
comments.
lot,
I want to know.
if you box a lot,
Yeah.
I'm actually really
I wanna
interested
know.
in that, right? Like, you train jujitsu. That's probably why you're watching the podcast, right? So you have a point of reference for there. But if you also have a point of reference about like, what's the disparity in boxing? Like, is it as big? Is it even close, like to jujitsu? Because,
and I'm using that as a discipline. I'm not. You can't use like MMA because even though they do boxing, they do kicks. There's so many things that they have to learn. So it's kind of on par with jujitsu. You know,
right.
and plus they have to learn jujitsu. You know, on top of it.
Like hell, I not even just jujitsu. I would say even wrestling.
Oh yeah,
like karate, kickboxing, you name it. Pick a straight up martial art and say one guy's been doing it for 10 years, but he's 145 pounds. The other guy's been doing for 1 year. Hell, give him 2 years, but he's 200, 220.
Yeah. How does that fare out?
What's the gap? Like how fast can the gap?
Yeah, that's
close?
an interesting question because there's a huge gap in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Like significant gap.
Holy shit. Man.
You're talking 10 years, you're talking a black belt against a white belt, basically.
It's just like popped in our head out of nowhere.
I know, it's
right?
good. You know, it'd be awesome. We should have had a boxer here. That would have been great.
Man. Hey, if you box and you want to get on the
Hit
show,
us
let
up.
us know. Because
let's finish this. We'll do part 2. We'll have this is the questions, we'll have the answers.
Yeah, this is the questions.
Because once again, we ain't going to answer nothing.
I don't know, dude. I don't box. I don't box. The little bit of like MMA kind of stuff we used to do and we still do, it's just like, it's combatives, man. It's like, it's. I know I can't do all that slipping and moving and I don't know, whatever the hell all the terminology is for boxing.
But like I would think though, this is just going, I could be wrong, but I would think that if you took boxing, you went 3 times a week for 6 months.
Yep.
I think you'd be pretty dangerous against just like an untrained guy. You'd be like light years ahead of an average guy. But
untrained guy.
Yeah. But what about jiu-jitsu? Would it be the same? I think.
Oh,
would there be a bigger? There might be a bigger gap with the boxing. Though,
6 months. 6 months of doing jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And then you throw in a guy who hasn't been doing, who has no jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And you fight jiu-jitsu. That's the key, right?
Oh yeah.
And you have them do jiu-jitsu together. Then of course the 6 month guy wins.
But would there be a bigger gap though? I'm thinking the boxer might have a bigger gap because he's doing probably like I don't know how many moves are like how many punches are there in boxes. There's definitely a limited number though, right? So he's had 6 months to train, say a dozen punches.
Gotcha.
Where the jiu-jitsu guy's had 6 months, but he's doing everything. So he may not be as good as the boxer.
I agree, and that's also why he's not good because he shouldn't be doing everything. Which comes back to what I said in the beginning, right? I don't want you to just take a fucking bunch of shit, throw it against the wall, see what sticks. It's like you should have not necessarily a curriculum, but you shouldn't be learning everything at white belt. You should have a very narrow path to walk at white belt.
The narrow path?
Yeah, because it should just be like, let me get the basics in. And you know what? They go, oh, but this sucks because when I'm rolling, they all know the basics. They all get out of the basics. They all can stop me and they still tap me. Yeah, okay. That's the point. Take your ass whoopings, right? It's like but nobody wants to do that.
No,
so
I would agree.
Again, that's why they go to YouTube, right? But I think you should walk a very narrow path, and that path comes with a lot of freaking tapping.
Yeah.
Because all these other guys, they already know the path. They already walked the path you've been on. So you can't show them some shit they don't know. And in fact, you're not supposed to. You're supposed to be there to take these L's so that they can eat. Like, you just, you know, and then the upper belts, they'll feed you some stuff and let you work or whatever.
Yeah.
But, you know, the blue belts, the purples, the browns, blue and purple at least, they should be beating you up. They shouldn't be running a class and showing you everything. They should be beating your ass.
And that's actually good though. If you get caught in a triangle, 100 times, you kind of figure out how to, see that triangle come in and how to preventive maintenance, right?
That's how I learned how to avoid wrist locks because I've been wrist locked. I don't even know how many times.
And some of those things, I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying. And now, shit, I'm pretty hard to wrist lock.
Yeah, and as I say, some of those things you can't teach. Like you could teach an escape, but you can't teach a person having awareness of it. You just have to be in that situation, and that's gonna result in you getting submitted a million times.
Absolutely.
Get better.
Absolutely. So, damn, like the moral of the story: take your ass beatings.
Yeah, take your L's, man. Part of it. You should take it with pride, man.
And just be okay sucking. You're right. You're right. You suck. All right? You do. You suck if you are walking a narrow path because you can think, oh, I'm really, really good because I'm finding these shortcuts because I went on the YouTubes and I found this freaking, the Berimbolo to a flying triangle move that I saw on fucking WWE, whatever. But if you're actually walking a path and you're walking that narrow path of, I want a nice, solid foundation, I want strong basics, most times you will win with basics. Usually when the upper belts beat you, they beat you because they have a stronger grasp on the basics. They're not usually doing some super duper fancy shit. Julio Berimbolo is a lot that I know.
Yeah, he does.
But the Berimbolo is just to get to the back. Or the Berimbolo is just to get to...
It's a path to get to the back,
It's
basically.
a path to then finish
with a
basic move, right? So just learn your basics. Yeah, you'll suck at all the fancy shit, but it's not your time to do all the fancy shit. Now, I know everybody's going to hear this and go, fuck that, man, I'm doing fancy shit because, whatever, because people
I watch
are
Instagram.
hard-headed. Yeah, they want a shortcut. So fuck it, shortcut. Do whatever you want, right? But we're just trying to tell you why you suck. So if you had that question as to why, that's why, right? Because you're shortchanging yourself by not just having a nice, simple, basic game in the beginning. Handle your biz, do that shit, and then you'll be like, there's like you plant a seed and it'll flower into something beautiful. Anyway. That's why you suck. Is that good, Rod? I think
it's fair enough. Yeah.
Why you suck? Why they suck? Right?
Until that new guy walks into school, then you don't suck.
Yeah. Or
they're like, man, I'm good.
Yeah. You're like, holy shit, I beat him up.
Yeah.
And then you're like, yo, coach, you see that? Yo, coach, you see that? It's funny because we got guys who do that, which I love. It's fun, man. They're like, hey, you see what I did? Or no, wait, they're not going to freaking submit them. They're going to hold until they see you looking. Oh, she's looking. Got him. Yeah. Those are fun matches too. I love watching these guys fight, man. It's like shit.
So let's do this. Okay, so I got two guys.
I was about to say it makes me feel like Michael Vick, but
oh man, I can't say that. Michael Vick is still canceled. He's still canceled. There's too many dog lovers out there, me included. Yeah.
I know.
Man.
All right, whatever.
Okay, you got two guys, right? And one guy is training. One guy, let's just say, significantly passed up his counterpart. Again, it goes back to we don't know what the other guy's doing, right? Very rarely, even if you had them both training 3 days a week and they're the same, everything's equal, one guy's still going to be a little bit better, right? Because some people are just naturally better.
Yeah.
You can't compare yourself to other people.
I mean, that's like
you get in your own head doing that.
Do it as if it was some weird controlled environment experiment.
Two twins.
Yeah, exactly. They have to be a set of twins. They'd have to have the same, and it would have to be like a set of twin instructors who were just as good, or one instructor teaching them both at the same time. It would
what if you had two twins and they went to different schools?
That'd be cool.
Right, and they learn different styles, like which I think we talked about that once
Something
before,
like
right?
that, and then they come back.
And they fight like who wins. Cool. One guy does basics, the other guy does all the. I think that's what we did. Yeah, we never did.
Talk about if one guy did basics and the other
only
guy
basics
was just like fucking YouTube
learn everything.
Black belt. I think the basic guy would whoop his
I think
ass.
he would win. We still got to do that experiment.
Well, the basic guy I think would win after maybe a year and a half of it, because if they're both really, really at the beginning and one's being shown basics, he will have no idea when this other guy does all this fancy shit.
Oh, yeah.
And the fancy shit will be like, what the fuck was that? So I think
the hacks will kind of help you.
Yeah, the hacks will help you in the beginning, but then you're learning shit out of order, right? So you're going to learn all these hacks and say, I can submit anybody. I caught a black belt with this. And they go, oh, cool. How do you shrimp? What?
Yeah.
What the hell's a shrimp?
You're right.
Come on, elbow escape? Why would I use my elbow to escape?
Exactly.
It's like, all right, dude.
No, you're right.
It's like stepping in my office. Why? You're fucking fired. That's why. It's time for you to start over. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, yes, that's why they suck, Rod.
All right.
But you don't have to suck forever. You don't have to suck forever. In fact, just listen to your instructors. Keep it simple. Don't over freaking complicate this stuff. Jiu-jitsu's complicated enough as it is, right? So you don't have to add to the complication. I tell people sometimes turn their brain off, and I know some people don't like when I say that. It's just like, but in the beginning, man, I don't need you to try to think your way through it. I just need you to just fucking do it. Just follow my instruction. I'm going to show you what you need. And then you want to talk about it afterwards, do an after-action review? Cool. But don't you try to tell me what you want to learn. Just walk the path. I'm one foot in front of the other, man. I'm showing you which way to go. Or your instructor showing you which way to go. Just keep it simple.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But that's all we got for him, Rod.
Yeah. So what do we learn? We learned that, like, you probably don't suck after a year. You're probably pretty good. Think about it. If the guy after a year got into a fight, with an untrained guy,
yeah, you're gonna beat him up.
oh, he's gonna maul him, dude. So you definitely don't suck. And a lot of that's in your head. Get out of your head. Don't worry about it, and just
Check your
stay.
ego,
Just keep doing it, man. Just keep training.
Because if you're saying you suck and all this stuff, again, that's your ego just fucking
But you know what's funny though,
chewing you up, man.
Harold? Here's the thing though. You're gonna get that no matter what. Once you get your blue belt, you're like, oh man, I suck as a blue belt.
I'm the worst blue belt.
Yeah.
Oh,
You get your purple
fine.
belt. Oh, I
I'm
suck
the
as a
worst
purple belt.
yeah,
I'm not. Oh, I
it
suck as a
is.
brown belt. Oh, I suck as a black belt.
Right.
That never goes
Well,
away.
because I mean, remember Randy was talking about it. It's,
What did he say?
it's
He had
the
a good one.
imposter syndrome. right?
Imposter syndrome.
It's like when you actually do move up, you're like, but I sucked.
Yeah.
Why am I getting promoted?
You're right.
Right. I guess some people ain't gonna lie, their ego goes the other way. They're like, it's about fucking time. Like, I should have been promoted. Like,
That's crazy.
but
Can you
let's not
imagine?
even go there.
Can you imagine?
I can imagine. I can absolutely imagine. I can imagine.
my.
So, you know who the fuck you are.
That's hilarious.
Don't fucking promote yourself, okay, people?
Yeah, no
Don't do that.
self-promotions.
No self fucking promotions. Anyway, tell them what to do,
Taking
Rod.
this. I'm taking this belt. Definitely share this video, man. It helps a lot, man. Sharing the video is the best way to kind of help the algorithm, help this thing keep going. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. Other than that, I think we're good. We'll wrap it up. And we'll check you guys out next week, every Wednesday. Us.
Us.
You know when you start getting good is like 4 years.
Yeah.
4 years is that's the turning point. I don't want to. Okay, let's stop. All right, let me know when you're ready.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do the hand clap.